Hi, Ann Cornick for Paint and Porcelain Exchange. And today I'm here to finish up our peonies. Now, trust me, peonies are not easy, and I've heard this from a lot of you. When I sit down and paint my peonies for the very first time, I am not painting them in front of you for the very first time. In fact, it takes me at least 2 weeks to prepare any of the workshops that we're going to have. It's just like anything else. So for those of you that had problems, let me show you how my problems turned out so you can see that I had similar issues. This is my first plate, and on the practice plate, I made a lot of mistakes, but as I made the mistakes, I took notes. Okay, so this is my practice plate. You may see some white light coming through from my blinds, but there's nothing I can do about that. Now, at first glance, you go, oh, that's gorgeous. But I see a lot of things that I corrected. So let's start with this. This is the absolute darkest peony on here. And one of the things that I wanted were highlights at the edges of these leaves and down here too. And of course, you can see I didn't have them on my first fire. So I made a note. I'm in my first plate. And so I made a note. And here, this is the plate I painted with you. See where I left all the light coming through? See how important that is? Okay. Now, the second one is this one. On here, this is the plate I did with you. It's white, white, white. And over on this side, the brown is just behind it, not up on it. Okay, this is the first plate I did. Let me show you why I left this one so light. On the first plate, let me get closer. Can you see where I added white up in here? Can you see those white? Yeah. That was all pink and brown. Down here at the base, everything was pink, and I just left it because I was frustrated. I kind of felt that with everything I was painting, from my training in the past, I was always told that you had to put a full load of one and a half load of the other. You don't. Okay, let's move on. Here's another disaster. Look at the pinks. Can you see the splotches of pink, especially right there and up here? I don't know what pink I used. I don't know what the problem was and why it came out like that. So I really can't help you with that. I think it was probably, and I'm not using it now, I think it was probably ruby. Okay? The other thing is this looks more like a rose than a peony. The center is way too wide. And everything is pink. Very little white on there. Look, when I tilt this, you can't really see any white on there. Now, let me show you the plate that I did with you. Okay, here's the plate I did with you. Notice how much I learned. Watch, when I tilt the plate, you see how the light is going over all those white spots? I left a lot of light at the top here, up at the, oops, everything's backwards, so I'm trying to do this backwards. At the top here. So, and if you notice the leaves, look at the leaves on here. They're not muddy or dark, right? Okay, my first fire, look at these leaves, the same leaves. Look how muddy they are. And underneath that there. Oh, wait a minute, I'm trying to go. This in here, notice how muddy that is? So I made a vow to myself never to go muddy like that again. Final thing I did on my first plate that I made notes on, these are all notes that I took from my very first plate, was this flower, the one down at the bottom. I could not get that for love nor money. It never worked out for me. It never came out the way I wanted it to. I knew what I wanted. I wanted one that was half open, and I ended up with a mum. Look at all the white on there. That was all dark brown and dark pink. And I ended up making it look like a mum just to save something out of it. But it doesn't look like a peony at all. And the colors up in here for the leaves. And even this leaf over here. Look how red the red is. It's too red. Okay, so now when you look at this plate and you see it, you see those errors that I had to correct. So don't get frustrated on your first attempt because peonies are difficult. Probably the thing I like the best is the color at the bottom and the top, and I also love the transparency. Those were probably the things that I was the happiest with on this plate. So I have problems like you do too. I don't sit down and whip off a perfect plate. I take notes. I work on that first plate. Like I hate the center of this, right? It's a perfect circle. I'm one of those people that can't be random and make things look more random. So I have to practice that. So I will tell you this. When you're doing your peony plate, the first fire is the most important. Paint it and paint it carefully. Make sure that you put in enough color so you can separate the petals, but leave enough white so you have something to go back to on the second fire, okay? So that's the most important takeaway I have for you. But don't get frustrated because I have muddy backgrounds, I have fuzzy flowers, I have paint buildups, I have things I can't tell what they are and I wish they turned out differently as well. So, please don't give up. Maybe two things I would suggest. One thing I do is there are days when I don't want to paint and I try to paint. It's a big mistake because nothing ever turns out. I try to paint, nothing works, and I get really frustrated with myself. The other thing is don't be afraid to wipe things off. I wiped off that plate 4 times on the second fire, and it still came out wrong. So don't be afraid to wipe it off and start over. And the other thing is, if you get frustrated or if you're having problems with it, set it down, walk away, then maybe come back, or even take it to somebody who's not a painter and let them look at it. And maybe they can spot it. You can also, people have said, hold it up in a mirror. They've said, take pictures of it so you can see what it looks like. That did help. I took a video of myself painting it at one point, and I liked what I did in the video so well, even though I ended up wiping it off, that I saved that and then used that to work for the plate that we're doing now. So anyway, I wanted to take a few minutes and just encourage those of you that were going, my plate looks terrible. Peonies are hard. And if it doesn't turn out this time, take your notes. Make notes of what things you wish you had done differently. Then try a smaller plate, try a different plate, do just one peony maybe, and see how it turns out using your notes. And I think you will find that you'll do a much better job on the second time. So that's my plate. And one thing I wanted to show you was on this one, which is the hardest one for me and probably the hardest one for a lot of you, I took with a pencil and went around and decided, see how this has 2 layers opening up? There's an inner layer and an outer layer. I wanted to do the same thing here. So I've actually blocked, I'll bring it up so you can see a little better. Here we go. I've actually blocked out with my pencil the way I want these areas to look. And I think that that will also help me. The other thing we're going to do on this round is we're going to take the Persian and the brown and go all the way around. And that will give us more of a completed feeling than just the light and the dark. It's too much of a contrast. This is, that's my shading green, Celadon, Persian red, rich brown. I have a brown gray, a warm brown gray, shadow brown, which is a medium brown, red grape, dogwood, which is kind of a medium pink. I have transparency. When you see how light it is there and you look how it fired, you think, oh my God, how did that fire into this? That's why I love it. But you could also use an old ivory, get a similar look. Warm shadow. This is flesh. This is reflected light. These are both, and warm shadow, they're all portrait colors. And then this is Sandoz Pink at the very end. So just so you know what colors I used. Again, I'm not going to go over the whites on this. I like the whites just the way they are. But I am going to start in the middle and work my way out like I did last time. See what I'm doing? Can you tell? I'm really trying not to make it look muddy. I'm going very slowly. Look at that. This is where I did it. Can you see how I tried to make the ends crisp, not muddy? Part of it might be your brush. Take a look at your brush. If your brush is worn, if it has rounded edges, this is the final fire. This is the time you clean up some of those things you wish you had done differently, okay? So here, I'm just going to come up there a little and come over here a little. Okay? Do you see what I did there? Now, whether it fires this dark or not, I don't know. And that's the other problem I have. My kiln, I have to fire on high, as you know, at 017, no matter what. And sometimes it fires as dark as I want it to, and sometimes it doesn't. I don't usually like to go dark all the time. I like to layer things, but I think I'm at the point where I can layer it here. So I'm doing all the brown. See what a difference it makes to that? I'm just using the corner of my brush, almost like a side load, and I don't want it to get muddy. So if you go over on the flower at all, the petal, wipe it off, or if it's already in there, like here it is, I'm going to have to just cut it a little bit so that it looks like I planned that, okay? All right, that's my dark there. And now I'm going to take and turn it around and do the dark down here. I don't want to wreck the depth I have up there. I really want this center to be almost, the darkest brown I can get. I mean, that's why you call it rich brown, right? Here we go. Okay. So that's my depth right now. I kind of got it where I want it, right? Can you see that? Now I have to start working away from that. I cannot stress enough that you're only putting in the background. Now I'm going to a shadow brown because it's dark, but it's not as dark as the rich brown. I have to add a little rich brown here just to get out of that pocket. There we go. Okay. All right, I've got enough in there now that I know what I'm doing. I'd like these two guys to be a little darker. And I'm going to take my shading green full load with a side load of the shadow brown, which is my second brown, and just pull that brown up into here like that. Put a few of these in, and then I want to turn this guy over here, make sure he looks turned over. Okay. Same thing here, shadow green full load, side load of the brown. This is the second level brown, the finishing brown, just to give it a little, and this guy's a little crowded too, so he flips. There we go. Okay. Now, are those two leaves done? Yeah, I kind of think they are. All right, this guy over here, I don't need to do much. What am I going to do to him? With him, and by the way, right now I'm using a size a 1/2-inch brush. It's Joyce Burlew. That's the size this is. Over here, I'm going to use my red grape, full load, partial load Persian with a touch of the dark brown. And I'm only putting it where I want the shadow. Just when I say a touch of the dark brown, it's just the very, very tip. This is a little bit of brown that I'm just going to pull up a little, not much. Oops, don't want it there. And then in here, I'm going to take a little bit of the shadow brown and just put a little bit of the shadow brown in there. What am I doing? What am I really doing? I'm trying to even up these petals, make them look really pretty. I'm just putting the shadow brown at the base of all the reds there. And it might be too dark. And if it is too dark, which I think it might be here, I just take one of my erasers and blob it, and I think I like that. Okay, I'm not going to do too much because when I put the background on, it's going to change everything. And remember that. That's why I started with the background here, because the background does change everything. And now I'm going to start moving up this way and down this way. I think I'm going to start the down first. I'm going to go down in here. See how there's a little light there? I like that. I'm going to leave it. There's also a little light here. I'm going to leave that. Wipe off my brush and just come back and feather it a little so that I don't lose that light. Okay. It's a good way to end the brown coming out there. Same thing over here. I need to, while the paint is still wet. If you let the paint get too dry, you are going to have a problem. This guy, my nemesis. And I know I'm flipping around a lot, and I apologize to those of you that are watching this. Okay, I'm using my lightest pink, full load, with a side load of the shadow brown. And I'm just going to go around. Oops, I need more brown. Test it on your tile if you need to. Go around. And just give this, oh, there's a, there. Squint. That's another thing my dad always used to tell me. Squint at what you're working on. A lot of times that will help you see the way it should look, and it's easier to do. I know it sounds crazy. Light pink, full load, side load of the dark brown, the shadow brown, which is my medium brown. And I'm just going around. I don't want to do too much. Look on this one. This one I didn't do any. I tried doing it with the pink and it didn't work. This one I'm doing it with the brown. See the difference? That's what we're trying to do, is correct the mistakes that I found on the first, that I had on the first attempt. Trying to correct those mistakes. Okay. Now I do like this. Not completely though. I don't want to go too dark. I'm going to try a little bit. This is the red grape. I'm going to see how this does. That's good. Now you say, that doesn't look like red grape. I'm pulling my red grape from the very end here. I don't want it to be, in that muck at the very end. I'm not going into the big pile because I don't want it to be too heavy. I just want, I had it heavy before and I learned from that. You just want a little bit here and there. It's like putting on blush. See here? I put it on solid. Nope, don't want that. I want it intermittent. And I just want a little here and a little here. Maybe a little right here just to kind of separate that, and a little there. I'm really trying not to make the mistakes I made before. Now up here, I'm only doing this just so that the light can kind of brush across, okay? I don't know about you guys, but we have the most beautiful weather today. And this right here, I do want to get it more to a point. And I don't like that. There, that's better. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I am going to put those little in the middle of it, but I haven't done that yet. Now, I'm going to look on the screen. Yeah, I am pretty happy with that. That did turn out gorgeous, didn't it? Okay, so I've got this one done. We've got this one done. Let's try this, the two nemesis that I have here. Now, I think with this is a little dark. I'm not pleased with that. I kind of think I went crazy there. I still made it too dark. But look at the difference here. Let me show you. Here's this one, and here's this one. This one, and this one. Do you see? I feel like I'm doing an eye test. Do you see what I mean as far as making sure that you do you take your time and you really do a careful thing on this. All right, now, oops. I'm using my fine liner to do this. Right on the tip. That might be enough. I might want one or two over here. I'm going to leave that for now and decide if I want more later. I might want a little yellow in the middle too. This is that transparency, so it really won't come out as bright as I'm putting it in. You almost can't see that, can you? I'm taking the red grape again. I kind of like red grape. And I'm going to start correcting this guy if I can. What don't I like about him? Okay, let's look at him real carefully. That's this one up here. Where is it on there? Can you see it? Yeah, this one, okay? What I don't like is, I don't like how this is a blob, and this is a blob. So I need to separate the petals. I could use my black pencil and do some outlining, but I don't think I will. And then I don't like the fact that this is kind of too big, but I've seen him like that, so I guess I can live with that. So I'm going to put him up here so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to, so I'm rounding out this petal, but just at the base with the grape, going over the brown that I already put there, because I think it should be, I think the grape softens it. Then here, see the edge? That's an edge right there. In order to prove that it's an edge, I'm going to just lightly go around that, like that. Okay. I'm not going to put much more paint on my brush. I'm going to come up this way here. Just enough. Okay, that seems to work. This is a little muddy in here. I want to correct that. If I can. I don't know if I can. You can correct it by putting, when you really get mud, put a nice smooth coat over it. Now remember, I'm going to have a background behind this, so I don't want to go too dark, but you have to sort of visualize these petals. If you don't visualize them, if you can't figure out what they are, what they're supposed to look like, don't touch them. Because you'll only mess them up, and you'll only be angry with yourself. Now see down here, I bet you didn't even see this one down here. This is the one I'm going for down here. I want to lift him up a little so that he looks like a petal. Okay. And one more right here. Now, this is the shadow side of this, so I can go a little darker over here. But I don't want to go too dark. But I'm wondering if I do add some depth here, if this will help. Here, let's see. Oh, I already did that, didn't I? I don't want to mess it up. This needs a separation, but I can do that with the background. Nope, I don't need that dark. Okay. Okay, I'm just taking a little bit of the red grape and I'm going to just clean up these edges of these leaves here because they're not real clean. They're like, they've got like junk on them. There, okay, that's a little better. All right, done with that guy. You say, how can you be done with that? I am pretty much done with it. Okay. Now, so this is what we have. This is the way it's supposed to look. This the direction it's supposed to go. Now here, I'm going to try to separate this from that so we have double layer there. I think that'll look better. These are petals that come up like these over here. And these petals go out like this, okay? So let's see what we can do here. Now, there's brown here, so I'm thinking brown. A little bit. But I have to turn it around because remember, we always paint towards ourselves. So I'm full loading with the dark, the shadow brown. Now let's see, this could be a total mistake. No, kind of like that. Full loading, and I'm side loading with the red grape. And now I'm just going to the red grape. Just need to put my, I'm using turpenoid, by the way, only because it dries quickly, and I really think I need that here. I'm just going to let that guy come down through there. I'm going to let him come down through there. This is the light, so the shadow, if there is a shadow, would be over here. Okay. All right, now I'm going to try to separate these guys. I'm just using red grape right now. I don't know. We'll have to see. And let's take a little bit of Persian and a little bit of red grape and do it a little darker down here now. Oh, not quite that dark. There, that's better. That's better. Ah, come here, you. I'm going to take a little bit of brown here. There we go. That covers that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the top layer with a little bit of brown. We'll see what it does. Good. Good. I'm trying to separate the layers, so they're more like different petals there. And there I got a mistake, like it dripped. I kind of like that. I think it needs a little more Persian and brown down here. Alrighty. Now I'm going to just do the leaves in the background and we're done. So I haven't touched much of the flower, if you notice. I've tried very hard not to. I've tried very hard only to touch the part, and I'm going to go up in here and do a little bit of there. I can do this because there's no background on right now, see? Okay. I've tried only to do it, you know, where it needs it. Put a little brown here. Oh, that made a difference, didn't it? Hang on here. I just discovered that that brown makes a difference. Okay. You make it look so easy when it's not. It's not. But you too can do this. All you have to do is really... I'm wiping out some of this because I'm looking on the screen there and I can see that it's a little too dark. Yeah, that seems to improve it a little. There we go. Yep. Okay. Alrighty, now we're going to do the background. I think I'm just going to stick with my same brush. I have to do these leaves. This leaf over here, I don't want to wreck it. I think I'm just going to use Celadon. Yeah, the Celadon is a real pretty color with a little bit of that shadow brown. Not much, just down here. Come here, you. There. And maybe a little right here. And a little there. And then just a tad. Sun's coming this way on the edge. Maybe on this side right here. Okay. Alrighty, now let's start going around. Okay, I'm just using Celadon and brown here. Celadon and a little red over here. I still like the red by the red. Let's get a little more red on there. This is strictly Persian. I didn't do my stems, so I can go over them pretty easy. Okay. I'm doing C's. A little bit of cross hatching if I have to. I'm using Persian. I'm using my regular brush. This is the 1/2 inch from Joyce Burlew. Great brushes, really great brushes. And then I'm going to try this. This is a dry brush. We'll see how it works. Oh, it's not quite fluffy enough. Oh yeah, it is. Ooh, very nice. Okay, more Persian, more oil. This is the end. There's not a lot to this. Almost like a wash in the background. And then I'm using this just to kind of smooth it up. Now here, I've got a little bit of a transition going on. I want to make sure that the transition takes place properly. There we go. Okay. Alrighty. The bottom is done. I hope these, I did put these, I may have to work on these. I wrote with the pencil, and I may have to work on getting those out of there. They don't seem to want to give. Okay, and a little more red there. Okay. Now over here, I went to more of a brown, just a light brown, almost like a warm brown gray. But I think I'm going to mix it with the darker brown. Come here, you. Or red, because I want more red around the edges. But this is this, so I've got to stop and take a minute and do this carefully. Let's put a little more brown in it. So I put it down, and then I'd use little C's to pull it away. I'm using warm brown gray if anybody wants to know. And I'm using a little bit of the brown that I have there. Oh, I don't like that. I shouldn't have done that. There. The reason I'm using the warm brown gray is it will mix into this red down here, and it won't look like it just draws a line at the end. I like that. Now let's get a little warm brown gray over here just to balance it. We do have a few of these little guys over here, so let's do them. Ooh, don't like that. There, it's better. Okay. I'm not going to touch that one. I think that one's pretty well done. Need a smaller brush here. I'm going to wipe this one out. Okay, and I'm just going to, there. Nothing fancy, nothing fancy. This is personal preference. I like the red, and I like the red grape. So I'm mixing them, and I'm putting them up here. That's entirely your call. If you like it the way it was, then don't do this. Make sure you blend the red in, or the red grape in, wherever your, oh, that's too dark. Wherever your lines end, so that they're not just ending one place. Yeah, I do like doing big plates, but this barely fits in my kiln. I mean, just barely fits in my kiln. You have to remember that a lot of what you're going to be doing as far as the color for this is in the background. And I know a lot of people say background is old-fashioned, but I have to tell you, when you get a good background, there's nothing like it. I might put a little more brown down there too, because I think, Okay. All righty. I'm kind of almost rouging it. Not dark enough. Okay. Just taking a little brown now and putting up in here. And I think I need a little brown down in here. Make it more cohesive. Okay, let's see how that does. You can rouge any color in, by the way. I'm using a brush to do it. Most people use their fingers when they're rouging. But rouging is just making circles, getting the color in. And it gets it very smooth and pretty. And it's a good way to add color when you don't really know what it's going to do to the painting, because you can, oh, look at that. Okay, now I'm looking at this. There's an obvious red line there. Okay. Okay, that's better. I need a little red here. Come on, baby. This is a filbert that I'm using to rouge with. It's a big filbert. It's 25. Need a little red over there. Okay. All right, let's see now. Where are we? Whew. I'm taking my pink sponge and I'm dabbing hard, and then I'm dabbing light. Sometimes all you need is the hard. Okay, now I gotta do the light here. You put it around your finger like that. Did I sign this? Yes, I did. This stuff you have to do while it's wet. This background. If you wait and try to tap it later, you're going to have a mess on your hands. This is what it actually looks like. Whoops, this way. Okay. Let's get it here. That's a little better. Okay. Now, pick up those brushes, keep painting, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed the program, and I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe so that other people can learn more about China painting and we can get the word out to more people. You also can look at the links below. My paintnporcelain.com website has a lot of freebies and printables for new and experienced painters, as well as studies, supplies, and even some of my hand-painted china. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.